shows are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Welcome to the Edventures in Tech podcast, talking the latest tips and trends in educational technology to innovate and engage your students. Here are your hosts, Andrew and Dan.
We are back and better. Welcome to episode number 70 of the Adventures in Tech podcast. I'm Andrew.
I'm Dan.
And we are excited you have joined us on this venture. Of course, if you like the content, please help us out by providing feedback and a rating on wherever you download your podcast from. We greatly appreciate your support. I called this one, Dan, Tech Bracketology. I'm really in the mood for March Madness.
No kidding. And I've also noticed that you've been slipping in like your own tagline for this season. Everything is back and better, back and better.
Hey, it's just ingrained in my brain, I guess. So.
Okay.
All right. So, Dan, how are things going? What's going on? Tell me what kind of classroom highlights you got going on.
Actually, you know, there's a lot of podcasting, as you're involved with a lot of podcasting as well. So that's been really great because it's not just like one type of podcasting that's happening. There's so much student choice involved. There's so much different goals set by the teachers that it's really a great way of students expressing their knowledge. So a lot of looking at differentiation in the classroom, especially with helping supporting teachers with things like NotebookLM and Mote and some of the other tools where they can really, focus on building that digital environment to support the learning for all students. So that's been a highlight. And I know you can probably talk a little bit about more work in the iOS environment with the iPads over at one of the elementary schools.
Yeah, there's been a lot going on. And like you mentioned with the podcasting, and you didn't, allude to all of it, but the level of engagement that it's creating with these students is second to none. And, the bar has really been raised in there. I don't think you gave it enough justice, Dan. So kudos to the work you're doing with all the different classes and the recordings. And we've had a ton of them between TEDx talks and then all the court cases, just a ton of audio generation going on. And it's not just the audio because then it goes into the graphic design and everything else.
But I also think, too, is teachers are looking at it differently. And it's not just like, oh, we're going to do a podcasting project. No, they're really looking at the power of voice and looking at it as a writing style and as a way of publication and sharing and looking at those multiple levels of engagement and so forth. So that's kind of what's been going on. And I'm sure building a lot of cool stuff with a lot of the cool tools we have. I've been diving in deep with Canva Code.
Yeah.
Not only for here, but for other stuff outside of work, too. It's amazing what I can do at Canva Code, or any of us can do at Canva Code. I think that's the sleeper of the year.
And you talk about professional learning. I found out about that at one of my sessions that I attended down at FETC. I know we haven't talked since then.
Because you shared stuff with me while I was in another session.
Sharing is caring, that's what we do.
But, one of the cool things, too, like just a little side note, so you brought it up, it's like we're looking for all these differentiated learning environments. I was messing around with Canva Code and, had it create me an app to help students reflect and learn about some different things. And I said, build it in a UBD style. And it put timers in there to help keep kids focused. It automatically put in text-to-speech. It put in a variety of visual diagrams. It put in checklists. It put in a glossary, everything based on my material I put in. So looking at that instructional design, and then the cool thing, too, is I can say, oh, can you change this specific part? And since it's code, it can, not like when you do like an image generator or something.
You start from scratch. Or
you can't ever recreate a certain part of it.
The thing is, Dan, I would, because people are going to be like, Dan, a lot of people are visual learners. So what you were just explaining, right? When it's done or whichever, maybe we can post it. On our webpage, just so people can see what you just said with how it built the timers in UBD and involved in it. And we'll put it on the site so people can then just kind of take a look and be like, all right, now how do I start to really break down and utilize this? And the best part is, I'm not going to let out the secret or out of the bag here, but Dan is not a coder by design. You may think he is.
I play one on TV.
Yeah,
Or I
but
play one on a podcast.
he's very good at what he's doing now, and a lot of it's just professional learning and how we continue to grow as our colleagues do as well. So yeah, and then you mentioned the iPad. A lot of cool things happening with the iPad, creating the mythical creatures, making them come to life. Like there's so many things, and I reflect back and I look, right out of COVID, like what we were doing, or even during COVID, and how monumentally it has changed in 6 years.
Oh, for sure.
It's insane what is being done in education, and it's just going to continue to evolve at a rapid pace. So, all right, so that's what's going on in classrooms specifically. For us, some local exciting news. We have the AI conference coming up at the DC BOCES. That's coming up on March 23rd. And then the 2026 Hudson Valley Artificial Intelligence Summit will be at Marist University on April 9th. And then, of course, the statewide conference for NISCATE is in November. All those bigger ones, the national and state level ones, they already have their dates announced. So we can give you those as well if you want to start to try to plan ahead. And then, Dan, I've also started something quick. People don't read a lot of your emails. I'm sure you feel our frustrations and pains with that, or they just glaze over them. So we really wanted to get like a tech tidbit kind of thing out there. So we started a newsletter called Signal Over Noise, right? So to make sure that you understand the signal and it's not just noise. And I'd say it's a quick, 5-minute read, Dan, right?
Yeah.
One page, pretty quick. We talked a lot specific to stuff in our district, but we're going to post, our newsletter episode, our newsletter issues as well, so you can kind of check them out. Some of them, you may not have the products specific in your district. However, Dan's one that we'll talk about in a little bit that he put in the most recent one is for anybody in Google Workspace. So it'll be really beneficial in that regard. Speaking of Google.
Yeah, I want to jump in because it's
Go
not
ahead.
on your timeline, but there have been some cool additions to Google Classroom assignments.
Yep.
I'm sure you may have noticed them. If not, we'll just point them out. So some cool things come with Gemini and its platforms coming first. So in Google Classroom now, you can insert your notebooks. So from NotebookLM, you can put your notebooks directly into a Google Classroom assignment, which is great because prior to this integration, you would have to really do some funky sharing settings for the education domain for everyone to be able to view your notebooks. It's not like the public ones. So you can put your notebooks in and they actually organize right at the top of your classwork section. So that's really good. You can also put gems into assignments. So if you're building those gems for your students, you can put them into your assignments. And they have a new record feature. So with your assignments, you can record audio into as an assignment, video, and also do a screen recording as well.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about really leveling up the platform. They just continue to evolve and make it like a one-stop shop almost.
And for sure, and then you may have seen too that Gemini is part of Google Classroom too, so you can create those quizzes, you can create those curricular materials, everything right within Google Classroom.
Yeah, and I think on a future episode we should really dive deep into gems.
We should.
We definitely can do that because there's so much to talk about, with how useful those components are. Some things that I tried to work today. This was a latest update, and I don't want to say it didn't work as well as I had hoped, but that could be a user error. But use Help Me Schedule in Gmail to easily set up a meeting time with multiple guests. Now, Dan and I have been there. We really try to find a time to meet based on people's calendars, going back and forth with emails. Things get lost in translation. There could be internal, external stakeholders. So the Help Me Schedule was limited between 2 individuals, but now you can coordinate meetings with multiple guests directly from the Gmail Compose window. So Gemini and Gmail detects when you're trying to coordinate a time within an email. They surface a Help Me Schedule button in the toolbar, and if there's more than one recipient on the thread, Gemini is going to propose ideal time slots that will work for you and your colleagues, based on visibility with their calendars. So the initial guest list will be pulled from the email thread, and then users will have the full control to edit guests if needed. So trying it out, still, maybe it's still rolling out. I know it's rapid release, but it was kind of looking like it would work. But definitely try it out as long as you're sharing a calendar with colleagues. It should be good. So the next one, Dan, you kind of talked a little bit about Gemini, but the conversation history. Mm-hmm. you always want to be like, what did I, we want to go back to those threads. It's now coming to the side panel in the Google Workspace.
I like that.
Right? and we can go into all the different AI platforms. We can go off the rails with that.
But just to clarify what you mean in the side panel. So of course, when you go into Gemini, you'll see your conversation history.
Right.
But if you're in a Google Doc, and you can pull up your keep files in the side panel or all of that.
On the right.
So having that Gemini conversation as you're doing your regular workflow, that's a cool thing.
Yeah. So it was no sooner than March 17th, which is actually the day of this recording, but it's going to be rolling
St.
out.
Patrick's Day.
That's it. So if you haven't seen it yet, it is coming. So like Dan said, look for your, where your keep is and your calendar and everything else right on the right-hand side. Your Gemini conversation history is coming. And like Dan said, what a monument. You don't have to switch windows.
Well, speaking about not speaking windows, I love what Chrome has done for the new split view with current tab. I don't know if people have seen that yet. So
tell them the tip trick. Yep.
So if you're working between two, like for me, I don't normally have two screens when I'm working. I'm working a lot off of my my MacBook, but I need that side by side. And there was always like you can resize the screens and fit, but they never like work well together because you can't scroll back and forth. If you want to join two tabs in split view, if you just hover over your tabs at the top and you give a right click, you can do new split view with current tab, and it gets you to it asks you to choose what tab you want, and it'll perfectly split your screen between those two tabs.
No more resizing.
No more resizing. And like if it's like a Google Sheet in one tab, like you can use that scroll left and right. And it's oh my gosh, it's been a game changer. And then you can right click on it and just turn it off.
Yeah, and the nice thing too, remember this works on Chromebooks, any Chrome browser. So it really gives the functionality for everybody in that regard.
And
so,
that'll help our kiddos too.
Oh,
on the Chromebook, because there's issues with doing split tabs,
right?
Especially with something like Securely or GoGuardian not allowing that. This is a way that you can do it on one screen.
Absolutely. So there's a little tip and tidbit for that with your split view. It's great. As we have a ton of Google updates, really. Another one is, a lot of people have been kind of enjoying Google Vids, right? Mm-hmm. And so what they're doing now is they're increasing the duration limits for Google Vid projects, recordings, importing those media clips, that rich environment, which gives you more flexibility to create that comprehensive video content. So now the maximum length for any Vids project is 30 minutes. It used to be 10. So really let the students really import as much as they need to, and it'll go up to 30 minutes. And then the recordings, the maximum length for any video or audio clip created directly in the vids is also now 30 minutes. And imports can go up to 95 minutes in length or 4 gigs in file size. So again, you can import the clips up to 95 minutes, but you got to edit it down to 30 minutes or shorter within Vids to unlock those full editing capabilities for that clip. So,
and I suggest people go out and check out Vids because there's a ton in there that you can do. I mean, especially since they launched it last year, it's really grown into what it can create for you. So I definitely recommend going in and checking out Google Vids. I can create AI avatars for myself. I can do a bunch of different things now that I couldn't do before.
Yep. So, and then a couple other quick notes that just wanted to kind of touch base upon was the main one that I really, this is probably another episode, but just to kind of, did you see the new Google Workspace Studio, Dan?
Yeah.
So you talk about automating everyday work with AI agents. We're going to tease this a little bit.
That's what I used. Well, that's what we're using for something else, which is really cool. I've still got to work out a few things about publishing the stuff you create in there because there's costs involved.
Right. But you know what? I think it's with it being in its infancy, just like everything else, they're going to expand the capabilities as they see the need and use for it. So maybe those costs will eventually disappear.
Yeah, it's one of those things too. So you can build a gem, right? That can create a chatbot or we'll just say an agent, which is the the proper term, I guess, to do some different tasks. So we've been building a bunch of agents, but looking for that app type interface or that embed chatbot.
Yep.
That AI Studio will take how you would build a gem and put it out there. So, once you get that, but then you think when you want to make this stuff live, there's things
Shareable
like
component.
I mean, you can share it within a small group for free. But like if you want to make public facing agents, there's a lot of credits and a lot of stuff involved in there, but you can build some cool automated things with the AI Studio.
Yeah. So definitely just, if you like to toy around and see what's coming on the horizon, that's something definitely to check out. So a couple quick things that, we like to go over, little quick tips and tricks. One thing is pdfcandy.com. Basically, it's an all-in-one online PDF toolkit. And if you need anything to do to process a PDF file, edit, convert, merge, compress, sign, more, go to pdfcandy.com. You can select your file or drag and drop, and wait till you see the amazing amount of tools that are on there. So, and Dan, free 99?
Free 99.
Love it.
To go along with PDF Candy, if you love that, there's another site called ILOVE PDF, and that gives you a variety of menus too. So that's another free 99 thing. Yep. that'll work for you when we're dealing with PDFs. But as we're PDFs are always a challenge.
Yeah.
But as we look at some of the digital tools that are out there, PDFs have become much more manageable. With accessibility. So
yeah,
a lot of what we needed
out.
to do doesn't need to be done anymore if you're utilizing tools like Moat or
exactly
things like that.
Right, exactly. But there may be some needs still, like Dan just mentioned. So, people are always saying, I got this great photo. So I found this and I wanted to share it. It's called pixlr.com/express, and we'll link it, pixlr.com/express. It's basically an AI photo editor for quick and professional edits where you can just open an image and kind of, give what you want. You get a couple free, all right? So not everything is free for full time, but it'll give you some free. And if you're editing a lot of photos, let's be honest, you're not going to be using this. But if you need to edit those quick edits, a couple of them, definitely check out pixlr.com, as that could be great. Now, Dan, we were just alluding to this whole video and Google Slides, and basically the history of it all is, Google Workspace does not allow YouTube for certain users in educational things. So how do these kids can see this without the ads and everything else? Dan, explain what you've kind of hacked, I should say.
Yeah, we can call it a hack or just looking at workflows, and it's. I kind of want to go. I mean, it is something neat that I did. And we figured out, but it's one of those things too. As we start looking at ourselves as educators, we always have visions of what we need for accessibility and doing things here. And some of these tools that are out there can really help bring these things to life. So to get in, I'm going to give a shout out because I told the teachers I would if we talked about it. But Miss Petrella and Finn Smith over at one of our schools are doing their 11th grade social studies, just a huge research project. And they were looking at a lot of different media for the kids to bring in. And of course, with EdLaw 2D and New York State and third-party things kids can no longer search for YouTube videos, which is tough because as you're looking for I want to hear the music, or I want to listen to a speech, or I want to do that.
Relevant content.
Relevant research. We've then stripped that away from them. So, you think about it too. It's all right, but kids can still watch YouTube videos if it's embedded in Google Classroom or embedded in a slide deck or put in through Screencastify Premium Library, or if they were using something else. But it's okay. So they can do that, but when they're when they're out researching on their own, or they're in class time, or they're in the wherever it is, they're in whatever space. They have no access to that. Great thing. If we talk about look at primary sources, I can pull up a speech, and they can't do that. So I'm all right. So one thing is if they submit their YouTube video as a URL in a Google form, the teacher can embed that. And I'm okay, but that's still not current. So I'm you can automate this stuff.
The code master.
The code master. It's just start thinking about it. I'm like, all right, so I know from my basic little bit of coding, I wouldn't even say coding, understanding how like
the back end.
The back end of how like you can run app scripts in Google Sheets, and because we've done that with like mail merges certificates and all that. Like you can write a mail merge or an automation to do things. I'm like, so there's got to be an automation script that can be created that if a kid submits a YouTube video link, so like the kid's doing research and they do their typical Google search and they see all these videos for their topic.
Yep.
They can copy that URL. Like they're not going to be able to preview it, but they can copy that URL, submit it on a Google form, and then go in. And then when that form response gets into the Google Sheet, we can run an app script so it'll automatically embed that video into a slide deck.
Perfect.
So I'm thinking about, I'm like, okay, that might be a cool thing. And I'm thinking like, all right, but we don't want kids just being able to like throw any video up in there as a free-for-all going forward. So, it can be used. The teacher can turn the form on and off. And then I'm like, well, if we make sure that every video submitted has a timestamp, the student name, and whatever, we can, there's some accountability and control what's going on. So I went in now, this is the way my mind's thinking. I'm like, all right, I want this to happen in Google. I want the app script to be going. I'm like, so where am I going to go for help? Gemini, because I'm keeping it all in the sandbox.
Yep.
And I basically, what I said to you is what I wrote down as a prompt.
Your thought process.
My thought process, and it created me an app script and for everything, and I can put that app script into the Google Sheet, and essentially what will happen is kid gets a form, puts in the URL, and it goes and automatically embeds in a slide deck.
Right.
Teacher owns the slide deck. You share it to your students as a view only, so they can't edit like the timestamp and the name that automatically shows up on the slide. They can't delete any of the previous slides. They can't mess with any other students'
They just
videos.
use the content.
And so they can watch the video, and then if they want to include it in their presentation, they can just copy their slide and paste it into their own slide deck and go from there.
Yeah. So I know it may sound like a lot, but it's a lot easier, and Dan has instructions. So if there's something that you're like, how can I do this? Feel free to reach out to us, and we will be sure to pass along the guidelines.
And there was things too. I'm like, and I'm going and I'm checking, I'm like making sure everything was ed law compliant. So they're not, the students are not overriding, like, going in, like, it's not like that we're being sneaky or a back end to get them to watch videos.
No.
I also have a separate script where the teacher has to moderate what videos are posted. So for this case that I said, the students are doing research in class, teacher keeps the form open. They're doing it while they're in there.
Right.
When their class is done, you just turn off form responses and they can't
edit it. Right. Mm-hmm. So a lot of different avenues to really just make life simpler with embedding and getting the research components kind of all in one place instead of you having to do it. It's an efficiency workflow at its finest right there. So, all right. So, Dan and I have been, it's just such a tool. And I know we had mentioned it, but we're going to take a little bit deeper dive today with NotebookLM, right? And if we talk all about NotebookLM, if you have not experienced NotebookLM, good grief. I don't know what else to say, but so basically NotebookLM is a tool that's moving AI from, which we've talked about in the past with multiple guests, is the hallucinator component to a really grounded research partner. And Dan mentioned how it's now embedded directly into Google Classroom, but imagine taking 50 PDFs or those dozen YouTube videos, your own notes, and instantly turning them into a professional talk show, right? Mm-hmm. That you can actually interrupt and talk back to, which Dan loves to demonstrate.
That's fun.
But, whether a student is drowning in research or content or notes, math, right? All of our teachers, they post their notes on their Google Classroom. Imagine putting that based on a topic, and then it's like the notebook is built for them, and we talk about UDL and multiple means of representation, and how can we really ensure that the student really has a dynamic new way to learn the content from the lesson. So it's like a second brain, and like Dan always mentions, outside your four walls of your classroom, you're not really restricted to what you can do. So a lot that you can do with NotebookLM, overall. Dan, you want to add something?
I do want to add a few things before we talk about it a little more is, with a lot of these tools going out, I just encourage people listening. I'm like, look over the tool and see what its purpose is.
Right.
And remember, it works for its purpose and not always what we'd want to do.
Not the shiny new toy, right.
So like NotebookLM is it's a notebook, and it's really individual based.
Right.
You can collaborate with people building notebooks, but it's not like a collaborative workspace.
Correct.
It's not like, I'm going to give my kids a project and they're going to build a notebook. That's not its purpose. Like
right.
If you want your kids to build something that's forward facing and to create something that organizes it together, there's other tools that are out there.
Right.
You can do things with Canva. You can do things with Canva Code. You can do a lot of different things. When we're looking at NotebookLM, I remember when I was in middle school, junior high, or whatever it was, and we had one of those classes, study skills and strategies. I wish that was still taught. I don't know.
I agree.
But and it was talking about how, taking different notes and how you can use graphics.
Dan used his index cards.
Or whatever it is
Yep.
to really, customize your notebook and help with your learning. So when we look at people learn in different ways, so using something like NotebookLM, as Andrew mentioned, is taking out the hallucination of AI. It's only going on the sources that are put in there. And then it will put things into an audio format. It'll put things into an infographic video format. It'll put things into
flashcards,
video, flashcards, all of these different things to help you with those different study skills and strategies. So like you can go through an exploration of a notebook with students, be like, this is the things that are
right.
available to you. And so I'd like for people to do it is like take the tool for what it is. And like maybe it'll grow eventually into something more, but sometimes sometimes tools get too big and they try and do too much, and then it loses its power that way. So I don't know. That's just a little caveat I have. Like look at what the tool's purpose is and work within that.
The big thing I think is, like you said, NotebookLM to me is like, I don't want to say replacement, but lack of a better term, replacing your notebook with all your dividers on one content area, right? So you don't have to have those notes, and then you get a big study review packet based on the unit you're currently in, right? When all those sources that you have provided to the student are now in a digital platform where it's not like, okay, here are all your notes, study, here's your review sheet. You can put all that into NotebookLM, and then the students can interact with it as you set up flashcards and mind maps, everything else that Dan just mentioned, podcasts, videos, and the students can, multiple means of representation and expression. Students then can learn in their own way, because we have auditory learners, we have visual learners, we have the ones that, instead of just rereading and cramming notes like back in the day, you talk about what a powerful tool.
And the thing about it, too, is like you can think about two ways of using it. So as a teacher, if you're curating all of your resources for a particular unit, a particular lesson, or a particular project,
right,
you can put that into Notebook and you generate the studio. So you're going to generate the outcomes. Like, all right, I'm going to generate a podcast, I'm going to a video, an infographic, whatever it is.
Exactly.
And then if you share that notebook through Classroom, as we talked about earlier, kids will have access to your sources.
Yep.
And won't be able to change them.
Nope.
And they'll have access to only what you put in the studio. And then also the little chatbot feature that will go back. And like they can do cool things. They can say, all right, I just want to ask a certain source. And they can check what source they want to talk to.
Or I need clarity on this part.
I need clarity on this part. So it's not like they're going out to, Gemini or ChatGPT and saying, write an essay for me.
And the hallucination component's all locked down for the good, I'd say, in this regard. So it really is based on the content you provide for the test that you are providing. So there's not like, well, I didn't know that wasn't going to be on the test and so forth. There are a lot of different variations of NotebookLM as far as There's NotebookLM Plus, Pro, and Ultra, right? As workspace users. And I think even in your personal use, if it's something valuable to you for personal projects, you're just going to use NotebookLM, and that gives you, the standard generations of what Dan mentioned, audio, video overviews, other artifacts. It does use the Gemini models for Google, standard access, and you get to 50 sources. That's the key. How many sources you can put in. It is 50 per notebook. So every time you create a notebook, you can have up to 50, sources at this time, right? At this time. And then they do level up to 100, 300, 600.
And you can use your PDF Candy to merge some files together to
Look at
take
that.
10 PDFs and put it into one, and there's you
That's
go
like
ahead.
an app pack right
then,
there.
Then you've added an extra source into your
You have
10 sources.
40 PDFs, and you're like, oh, no, I'm running out of sources. And you merge them all, and Dan just told you, here we go, baby. That's it. So it is really a good way of understanding anything in grounding in the information you trust, since you provided it, or you vetted it, I should say, and really makes it just a powerful tool. Man, I wish I had this, growing up.
We have it now.
Well, right. I meant in school,
Yeah, it's especially we can look at it too, but especially as we prepare our students to go on to, they're going on higher education or whatever into the workforce. I mean, there's a lot you have to balance, and having that ability to create that digital notebook, and then have it in a variety of forms to help every individual learner. We were popped into. A teacher popped in and was talking to us about something, before we started recording the podcast. And, I often struggle with, and too is brought up, it's like, there's so much that, like, growing up without this technology of what we had to do to go forth. And I don't think we need to ignore all that. I think that's all of the skills we come as critical thinkers in doing that. But the platforms have changed.
Correct.
Like when we did this, all that we can reminisce in our mind about how hard we worked and how we did this and whatever. It's like, but that we didn't have anything else available. Like it wasn't there.
Nope.
Things are here now.
Yeah.
And it's like, why do we're not saying don't teach these skills, but we should adapt to the platforms that are there.
And we know it's rapidly changing.
Right.
And it's a lot to keep up with, but that's kind of what we're here for. Is really to kind of keep you abreast of all the latest and greatest tools and tricks and everything like that. And, as we mentioned, just with NotebookLM, in general, I know we mentioned some of the different studio sources. So just to understand, the studio is what you create, and then the students or whoever you're sharing your notebook with can access. So they can chat with it, as Dan mentioned, for summaries or what's a gap, what am I missing, or next steps, or what do I need to learn more about. The other thing that I think we just glazed over between audio and video, the quiz part is great.
It
right?
is.
So, many times we hear, oh, I want my kids to do a Kahoot or a Wayground or anything like that. Well, it's a different source of it, but it's another way to have the kids kind of, learn the content or practice the content between the quiz and the flashcards and the infographics, as Dan mentioned, the slide decks, the videos, and everything else. So a lot that you can do with your students in NotebookLM.
And you can be really creative about it. So some things that I've been doing is using it as a summary or reflection of work that students are doing. So if I'm teaching a unit or the students are producing a project, or if I'm having students participate in a discussion board,
Right.
You can copy and paste text in there. And I will say that NotebookLM is a wall garden, especially with our education. Nothing is shared out. Everything
Right.
is contained right within there. So there's no PII shared. It's all there. So like, for example, I was teaching something about like the difference between group work and collaborative working, a collaborative learning, and what the differences are and how you can point them out, why it's important, and how instructional design fits into that. And I had students, researching it, creating infographics about it, and participating in a discussion board about the differences and whatever. So like all of those things are like kind of like they're collaborating and they're doing this stuff together, but is there really synthesis to everything that happened in there? Like, can I really expect every student to read the discussion board and the replies for each one and then like be able to synthesize and reflect? Or if we did this whole group thing on the differences too, and like they presented it, but like where's the culmination? Where's the reflection? Where's the kind of things too? So I was able to like copy and paste my entire discussion, just copy and paste the entire discussion and replies, put that in as text. And then I took all the student work that was in slide decks about them, what they did, put that all in there and put all my, the teaching materials I had, and then generate the studio. So I built an infographic that was reflecting on the entire student experience, the podcast, the video, everything. It was cool. It was even like pointing out, like this particular student said such and such.
Right. Quoting them. Yeah. It's powerful, and I can't wait to see how much it rapidly evolves. Like I said, use the free version. The other ones, Plus, Pro, Ultra, again, I if you get to that level, more power to you. Costs vary between $20 to $250 a month. So depending on how many, tasks and everything that you need it. The one thing we are going to also kind of share is came up with some prompts, right? So whether it's a Socratic tutor for deep thinking, right? Another one is the Bridge the Gap for younger learners. So if I just talk about prompts, and prompting is so important when we talk about NotebookLM and everything, right? So, and we'll share these out, but like a Socratic tutor for deep thinking would be act as two expert tutors. Instead of just summarizing the facts, focus on the why and the how, and pose 3 to 4 challenging questions to the listener during the conversation to make them think deeply about the ethical implications mentioned in the sources, right? So you talk about a Socratic seminar thing. The Bridge the Gap. Explain these using metaphors that a 10-year-old would understand. Compare the scientific concepts in the text to everyday things like a kitchen, a playground, or a video game. Avoid jargon, but keep the core accuracy of the data. We have a critical analysis one we came up with, right? Instead of a friendly chat, have the two hosts take slightly different perspectives on the sources. Host A should be the optimist and host B should be the skeptic. Have them debate the pros and cons of the arguments presented in the text. And another one we came up with was the vocabulary builder, especially for our ESL, ELL supports. Focus the conversation on the 10 most difficult technical terms in these documents. The host should pause to define each term clearly and use it in a sentence before moving on to the next topic. So there's a lot of different things that we can do with NotebookLM. We also have some rapid fire tips, pro hacks that we will definitely share with you as well. So.
Oh yeah, that's great stuff.
So we'll share that out. And Dan, any other final thoughts right now?
I don't think so. I think we covered a lot. I think
we did.
I think we just kind of.
Just scratched the surface with NotebookLM, but we wanted to give you an overview of what it can do, what it is, and how you can start to utilize it if it is a tool that you see beneficial for your students, right? Is pretty much, how we can summarize that. But you're good, Dan?
I'm good. I think I don't want to add anything else because I don't want to go off the rails.
Okay, gotcha. All right. So once again, thank you for all your support. Listen on all those platforms, leaving us those reviews. You have questions, comments, suggestions, please reach out. Tech hard, work smart, live in adventure.
Find Andrew on all socials at A Nicola Tech and Dan at WCSD Tech DR.